In this video, we're going to learn about the distributive property, the different parts of an equation, and we're also going to learn how to simplify an equation. So first, let's review the distributive property. The distributive property basically says that we take the term on the outside of the parentheses, in this situation A, and we distribute it or we share it with each of the terms on the inside of the parentheses. And since there isn't an operation sign right here between the A and the parentheses, that means that we're multiplying. So we're going to take the A and we're first going to multiply it. We're first going to multiply it times the B. And then we're going to add, because that's what operations between the B and the C. We're going to add to that A times the C. So let me give you an example with numbers. If we had 2 times 3 plus 4, we'd go 2 times 3 plus, because there's a plus sign here, 2 times the 4. Now let me remind you, that it means that we're going to distribute, or we're going to share, the term on the outside with each of the terms on the inside of the parentheses. What students commonly do is they remember to distribute the 2 with the first number, but they forget to distribute the 2 to the second number, in this case 4. So remember that you're going to distribute it to each of the numbers on the inside of the parentheses. So here's our first two problems we're going to do. 4 parentheses x plus 7. So that means we're going to take the 4 on the outside of the parentheses and we're going to distribute it or share it with each of the terms on the inside of the parentheses. So we're going to go 4 times x, which is 4x, plus, because there's a plus sign here, 4 times the 7. Now when you take a look at this, we can simplify this a little further. We don't know what 4 times x is, so I'm just going to bring that down. I'm going to bring down the plus sign, but I do know that 4 times 7 is 28. And there, we've applied the distributive property, and then we simplified our problem, and we got 4x plus 28. Here's another one. Y plus 2 parenthesis 5. Notice that the number that we're going to distribute doesn't always have to be on the left side of the parentheses. It can also be on the right side of the parentheses. So I'm going to distribute the 5 to each of the terms on the inside of the parentheses. So first I'm going to have 5 times 2, and then I'm going to bring the plus sign down, 5 times y. Now just like in this example over here, I'm going to see if I can simplify now. I know that 5 times 2 is 10. I'm going to bring the plus sign down, but I don't know what 5 times y is, so I'm just going to bring that down. And there, we've applied the distributive property and then simplified. The distributive property doesn't always have to do with addition. It can also have subtraction in it. One of my key suggestions to students whenever they see subtraction is to change it to addition. Remembering the saying, same, add, opposite. The first number stays the same, we change the subtraction to addition, and then we change the second number to its opposite. So in this situation, let's do same, add, opposite. So I'm going to change my subtraction to addition. So 6, parenthesis, the p is going to stay the same. I'm going to change my subtraction to addition, and my 5 is going to become negative. Now I'm going to do the distributive property. So I'm going to take the 6 on the outside of the parentheses, I'm going to share it with each of the terms on the inside of the parentheses. So 6 times p is 6p. I'm going to bring down the plus sign, and 6 times negative 5. So I'm going to simplify this. 6p, because we don't know what that is, plus 6 times negative 5 is negative 30. And there we have, that's as simplified as we can get. Here's another example for us. This time we have a negative value on the outside of the parentheses. And I see subtraction here, so that means I'm going to change my subtraction to addition. So the x is going to stay the same, the subtraction sign is going to become an addition sign, and the positive 8 is going to become negative 8. Now I'm going to take the negative 2 on the outside of the parentheses and distribute it to each of the terms on the inside of the parentheses. So that means we're going to have negative 2 times x plus, because that's what's here, negative 2 times negative 8. So this is going to stay negative 2x plus a negative times a negative is a positive, and 2 times 8 is 16. So there, we've simplified and applied the distributive property to that problem. Now I'm going to go over a few vocabulary words for you. Terms, like terms, coefficients, and constants. Terms are, the book defines them as when a plus or minus sign separates an algebraic expression into parts, each part is called a term. So in this section, we look for the addition signs or the subtraction signs, and these would be the terms. So 6n is a term, 7n is a term, 4 is a term, and n is a term. So that's what terms are. Like terms are when things have something the same about them. So for instance, I see an n with the 6, I see an n with the 7, and I see an n all by itself. So these are like terms because they all have an n with them. Those are like terms. A coefficient is when we have a variable like an n. It's the number that's in front of the variable. So in this case, 6 is the coefficient here, 7 is the coefficient here, and the invisible 1 that's right here is the coefficient. And a constant, the constant is are numbers that don't have variables with them at all. They're just numbers all by themselves. So the 4 right here, that is an example of a constant. So terms are separated by addition or subtraction signs. Like terms are the ones that have the same variable with them. So the 6n, the 7n, and the n. The coefficient is the number that's in front of the variable, and a constant is a number that's all by itself. So the last thing that we're going to do today is we're going to simplify these expressions. So in other words, we're going to put the things that are alike together. So this first example is very simple. We have 4y plus y. And remember, there's an invisible 1 in front of that y because we have one y right there. And over here we have 4 y's. And those are the same. They're both y's. So we can put them together. They're both oranges. Here we have 4 oranges, and over here we have 1 orange. And if I take my 4 oranges and I put them with my 1 orange, I end up getting 5 oranges, or in this case, 5y. So I've simplified that. I've put the things that are alike together. This example over here is a little more complicated. Please note that we have subtraction, so that means anytime we have subtraction, we want to go back and change our subtraction to addition. Same add opposite. So 2g is going to stay the same, plus negative 3, plus, and here we have some more subtraction. The 11 is going to stay the same. My subtraction sign is going to become an addition sign, and we're going to have negative 8g. Now we're going to put the things that are the same together. Here we have a 2g, and over here we have a negative 8g. Those are the same. 2g plus negative 8g is negative 6g. And here I have negative 3 and positive 11. So negative 3 plus 11 is 8, plus 8. And I've simplified this expression here down to negative 6g plus 8. This right here is quite a bit simpler to look at, and we can do more things later on with it than this more complicated expression up here where the like terms aren't put together.